Visit Rogers.com for more details. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Thank you so much for joining us here for the federal election debates. We know that this election is more important than ever. April 28th is coming very fast. We wanted to get you familiar with the candidates in your riding. I'm Sam LaPrade. We're joined by three candidates today from Prescott-Russell-Cumberland riding. We'd like to welcome Jason St. Louis. Thank you so much, Jason. Thaila Riden. Thank you so much, Thaila, for being here. And Giovanna Mingarelli. Thank you so much for being here as well. Wonderful to have this opportunity. We invited all candidates to the debate today. These are the candidates that took us up on our invitation. We're going to start with opening remarks, and we're going to start with Jason. Jason.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason St. Louis. A quick little history about me. Again, I'm a former professional athlete. My education is as a paralegal and a law clerk. And I'm not a long-term politician, although I did run in the last provincial election. And I'm really happy to be here again on the stage with the other candidates to discuss what's going on in our country and the importance of this election that's coming up. Traditionally, we're talking about platforms with our candidates. I'd like to talk about proposals today. So I'm really just looking to connect to the majority of you voters out there. We got 140,000 plus viewers. We had 90,000 registered voters, and only 48% showed up to vote in the last provincial election. So I really want to connect to you, 52% this time, to give you guys an option and a choice to make something happen for yourself. Vote for yourself. Vote for an independent. You can see more about me on my website, jasonstlouis.ca. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll have opening remarks now from Giovanna.
Thank you so much, Sam. I'm Giovanna Mingarelli, your Liberal candidate for Prescott-Russell-Cumberland. I'm honored to join Prime Minister Mark Carney's team and run to be the Member of Parliament in our riding. I'm proud to have grown up in Rockland and to be a resident there today. As a child, I attended École élémentaire catholique Sainte-Trinité and Rockland District High School. My first job was at the Rockland Golf Club. Now it's my turn to give back to my community. I have 25 years experience in federal politics, 15 years experience in the private sector as a tech entrepreneur. I've spent 10 years living in the United States and Europe. These experiences are vital now, especially with our U.S. relationship at risk. Given the needs of our community and the country at this time, I believe I'm the best candidate for this job. I look forward to respectfully participating with my colleagues in this debate today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thaila.
Thanks, Sam, and thank you, Rogers, for hosting, and Giovanna and Jason for presenting yourselves as candidates. So I'm Thaila Riden, your Green candidate for Prescott-Russell-Cumberland. I've grown up in the riding as well. My family moved there when I was 6. Went to school there, many jobs. I was shoveling steel slag at a summer job for Avaco, worked as a baker, worked on campground with my family, worked at Bozon Natural Brewery delivering beer, and then later on as their organics compliance officer, sustainability champion. So been kind of wearing many different hats. And there's a lot of potential for riding. We're facing a lot of issues these days. The word you might have heard is polycrisis. And we have a lot of work and a lot of policy ideas to share today. So that's what I'm here to do. And as Green, I'm ready to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opening statements. We'd like to get to some important questions now that many Canadians are wondering. The issue that many Canadians are up at night worried about is the economic future of this country. What is your plan to address the financial insecurity that the people of Canada are facing right now? Jason.
Thank you for the question. So I think really where we're at is how can we strengthen our own economy? I think we spend a lot of time with building our economies to outsource our natural resources and our labor and things to our other countries. And when we're talking about what the questions are probably going to be today, the tariffs, I think we really have to look inward and see how we can benefit our economy. Any industries that are going to be affected by these tariffs, how can we support them with our own infrastructure, our own natural resources, how to better grow our economy inward in itself so that we can prosper and look after ourselves as a Canada First type of initiative.
Okay. You have a couple seconds and then we can call for call for debate. Debate.
Okay, well, Jason actually raises some very good points, building up our local resiliency in our local economies, and to also address on the financial side for many working class Canadians. The Greens have a tax reform proposal, so to raise the basic minimum amount from $15,000 to $40,000. We really want to do a bottom-up, not a trickle-down change. So taking stress off a lot of working families and people who are living paycheck to paycheck. So that's one address. And of course, on the other side, making sure that big corporations, we're not talking about small to medium businesses, we love them. But that big corporations and the ultra-rich, people who make more than $1 million a year, pay their fair share. To Jason's point, a more resilient economy, so we're not shipping off natural resources, really more processing in our local regions. So, for example, lumber, and in Riden especially, we could have mills, and then we could have finished lumber to build Canadian houses with. Another point for the Greens is building up strategic reserves, using our government buying power and basically resources that on public land we would own. Basically building up reserves of potash, critical minerals, lumber, so that way these reserves can be ready in times of crisis like we're facing right now, could be used for local industry, or if prices rise, we could sell them at an increase. Want to let anybody else jump in?
I would love
Very
to jump
Canadian,
in.
okay. No problem.
So just building on the points of my colleagues here, the Liberal Party platform is very strong on a sustainable Canada and a united Canada. So as the Liberal candidate, I'll stand strong against President Trump's tariff. I think that's the elephant in the room. Create new jobs, cut taxes for the middle class, and build the fastest growing economy in the G7. Also create a united economy, not 13, across all provinces.
Rebuttal.
Regarding the talks about lumber and stuff like that, so really quick, I'll touch on hemp farming initiatives is one thing that always has in my proposals. 1 acre of hemp produces 4 times more pulp than 1 acre of trees. We can do that in a season versus 5 to 20 years. This could be a way that we can revitalize our economy through pulp, paper sales across the world, internally, as well as feed, fuel, natural resources, hempcrete products to build our own economy.
Thank you so much, Jason. Giovanna, this question will start with you. In the last number of months, many Canadians are thinking about how much we invest into defense spending. With the recent change in our relationship with our neighbors to the south, Canadians are more aware than ever about the monies that we're spending on defense and our Canadian armed forces. What is your opinion, and how will you ensure Canada spends and invests in our defense budget the way Canadians expect you to?
Well, I think right now people are concerned about the stability, safety, and sovereignty of our country. The Liberal Party will invest in our military. Liberal government will rebuild and reinvest in the Canadian Armed Forces. These investments will help us reach our NATO 2% spending goal by 2030. We're going to be promoting salary increases. So we're going to be giving Canadian Armed Forces a well-deserved pay raise to buy and also buy new equipment for our troops at home. We will buy new submarines as well, heavy icebreakers and advanced drones. And in brief, all of this, we plan to help build a stronger Canada in the face of an increasingly unstable and polarized world.
Debate.
I'd like to go first on that. It sounds like we have some great common ideas. I, as a former civilian contractor with the military, have a lot of friends that are in the military still. Some are retired. And for me, and my proposals would be to exactly that, rebuild our military. This would help create jobs. I'd like to encourage our youth to get back into the military, because we have a very low number of military across our country compared to our neighbors across the way. So to rebuild our military, creating jobs, giving ourselves our own security across our borders is definitely a fundamental way. We also need to look at how can we take care of the veterans that we have, because we've seen for the last 9 years with the other side of the government that's in power now, there seems to be a lot of back and forth on what they can and cannot give. Our military veterans need to be looked after right now and into the future, and they need to know that, so they're willing to invest their time to join the military, knowing that they will be looked at when their times and their missions are completed and coming back home.
Good points, good points. And I'll kind of renew some ideas on the green side. And by the way, feel free to take them. That's kind of, they're open source. But so definitely buying new equipment for the military, making sure, obviously with issues of, say, Arctic sovereignty and increasing border patrols and Arctic patrols up there. Also, maybe looking at contracts that we might have with the United States, for example, with the F-35, so there's billions in that. Do we pivot and maybe look to buy, say, Swedish jet planes, Gripens, and also maybe other submarine manufacturers and securing the maintenance contracts for these things. We also, as the Greens, we really think the military, our presence in Canada and worldwide is, as peacekeepers, keeping the peace. So making sure that we have that robustness in our defense. We also want to bring in a civilian component, because the military has been called in for disaster relief. We want to create a national civil defense corps as well.
Rebuttal.
Yeah, I think you both bring in really interesting points and good ideas. Thank you. And so I think bringing military spending back to Canada, that is an absolute priority, especially with the United Canada and the United economy. I think also looking at opportunities for increased military spending in Prescott-Russell-Cumberland with our local businesses would be a very important idea to consider moving forward after this election.
Thank you so much. Thaila, this question's for you. In recent weeks, there's been many discussions regarding the size of the public service here in Canada. What is your proposal on how the public service will be funded in the coming years if you were elected?
Good question, and to relate to that, we would not be entertaining certain things like massive layoffs, but we're going to have a fully costed platform coming down April 16th, so I'll be low on numbers, but one aspect to kind of drill down is, for example, the PMO's office, Prime Minister's office, right now has a current budget of $10 million, and we could look to maybe bring that down to $1 million. So we would look for efficiencies. We would do it in a just manner. Because obviously we want to make sure things like, I'll pivot to say media, like the CBC, we want to ensure that certain aspects, if they're, and Canada Post, things like that, we make sure they have enough funds to continue the service in the workforce.
Go ahead.
So in general, I think looking for greater efficiencies across the public service is always important. I think right now, especially with the trade war happening and the immediate concerns of Canadians, the most important thing is to keep a stable public service. So in my opinion, essentially maintaining jobs, maintaining stability both across Canada and also in our region, in Eastern Ontario, is of paramount. The most important thing is for people to feel safe in their livelihoods. And, as a second tier, once things have stabilized with the trade war and, and the United States, I think we could look at new and additional opportunities as well as new possible restructuring opportunities that arise as a result of what's currently happening in the world.
I think that a way to help with our budget would be to have a audit of government efficiency at all levels. I think there's way too much money that's being spent. Our taxpayer dollars are being spent all over the world. I'm not just looking at this as a politician. I am a constituent. I'm a father. I'm a son. I'm a brother, and I live here. And I'm affected by the government's last 9 years. I'm affected by what the future looks like. I think we need more transparency, we need more accountability, and that's going right from the top all the way down. And that's what I would propose to really represent and support my constituents on in our community.
And actually, to that point, in the Green Platform, there's a piece to making access to information requests much more broad. So that way, first off, you know how public monies are being spent, increasing transparency, keeping the government honest. And to that effect, I did kind of mention that National Civil Defense Force, which would take a bit of load off disaster relief for the military. So there would be positions that we could bring in for work required.
Rebuttal starts now. Your rebuttal starts now.
Oh goodness. Well, yes, thank you. Well, to that point, so obviously, a stable, efficient, open, honest government, it is something for good peace and order. So we would look at it proactively, and we have some strong points in our platform. Again, feel free to check it out. There's going to be a fully costed platform coming down on April 16th at greenparty.ca.
Thank you so much. Jason, we'll go back to you for this next question. I want to speak about local issues. I think it's really important with all of the discussion that we've had about sort of a nationwide issues. What are the top 3 local concerns you've heard at the door during this election from the people in the Prescott-Russell-Cumberland riding?
Thanks for the question. That would be food costs, healthcare costs, and housing. And I think all those encompassing, if we're going to look at the cost of these things, let's start with food. Things cost more because of the carbon tax. I personally believe that we could eliminate the carbon tax, look to take Canada out of the Paris Agreement, which spends $1 billion a year this last 5-year session, and take any money that we are going to raise and put it into our own industry so that we can have less costful transportation of goods. We're talking about housing. There's not enough housing that's being built. I'm working with a group right now, a charity, the Friends Who Help, to purchase land so we can help build low-cost homes, tiny homes that are more self-sufficient and expand our communities with the housing.
So adding on to your points, affordability and tariffs for me are at the top of the list. I've now knocked on thousands of doors and spoken with thousands of constituents across Prescott-Russell-Cumberland, from Rockland to L'Orignal and in between. I've heard voters talk loud and clear about the cost of living, as you said, Jason, and Trump, and how it's hitting them very, very hard in their ability to feed their families, support their local businesses. I think that one of the most important things is to strengthen our local economy. So really, really driving into buy local. We should absolutely be buying each other's products and services. There's no excuse for why we can't sustain our local economy. For farmers, the businesses, the industries, I was last week at Iveco steel mills, meeting with the president. They were telling me about their concerns, and honestly, one of the best ways that we can help is really to just keep business local in Canada. And then finally, removing interprovincial red tape. I think it's ridiculous that an abattoir in L'Orignal can't sell their products to Quebec directly. That absolutely I would love to see that changed, and that also falls under a United Canada platform that the Liberal Party is promoting.
I have been working for years now with a municipal farming initiative that would see us looking at contacting our local grocery stores and saying, okay, and I've done this myself just to see how much produce is our community purchasing through our grocery stores, and how can we send that out to our local farms so we can produce local, reducing our emission footprint by bringing and exporting foods in. Take care of ourselves first, and then use that logistic map to give to other outlying communities. So again, we are sustaining our communities itself. We are feeding our communities by our farmers, keeping our farmers in business, and then anything extra we can support elsewhere.
Your rebuttal starts now.
Yeah, so just to continue on that, to that farming initiative, use that model so we can expand it all across the country. And I've had great success speaking with other independents. I've created an association with other people called the Independent Candidates Association, where we help support other independent candidates by connecting our platforms, see how we can benefit our communities as a whole, because I think the future is trying to encourage more independents and more constituents to be a voice for themselves.
Thank you, Jason. Next question is for Giovanna. Dental care and pharmacare have been top issues during this last term of the Trudeau government. Healthcare is on the minds of every single Canadian. What will your party do to help Canadians regarding healthcare, dental care, mental health care, and of course, pharmacare?
Well, tackling healthcare frustrations in Prescott-Russell-Cumberland and federally, of course, is of the highest priority. The long ER wait times, high prescription costs, and the doctor shortage are causing a lot of grief to people in our riding, and no one should go without care. So delivering relief, so the Liberal Party platform includes delivering relief with the Canadian Dental Care Plan for seniors, kids, and low-income families, plus pharmacare, covering diabetes, meds, and contraception, with more to come as it expands nationally. These are all programs that Conservatives voted against and would get rid of if elected. And then also, I would love to see us bring more doctors to Prescott-Russell-Cumberland by forgiving student loans for healthcare workers who serve our communities.
I think forgiving the student loans is a great idea. Maybe not a total forgiveness, but definitely some subsidies, because we still have to encourage and cover the cost of those individuals being taught. That's going to go into the schools, and I don't think that's something we want as taxpayers to incur the cost of. But to encourage some subsidies, also maybe some relocation subsidies, and having internships available in all our communities so that there's a continuous flow of internships that would always be present in our communities. I think that would be a great way to support those communities in that healthcare system. Also, perhaps some families like myself, I have an income, but I can't afford total dental care of things. But if I had some support with maybe loan offerings through maybe some funding available through the government that I'm still paying for, not the taxpayer, would allow me and to support my children as well with their dental needs by being able to make smaller payments over a longer period of time. That's kind of where I feel as a parent.
I would quickly point in, so the for our public health care, and that would include the dental care and pharmacare programs, we would really stress on the green side is to keep for-profit out of our public health care. So any for-profit private health care, to keep that out of our systems, but to increase flexibility, expanding pharmacare, for example. The concept is the ounce of prevention, pound of cure. So basically, and there's an economic study, I won't be able to cite it, but check it out, $1 of preventative medicine equals $7 of treatments. So it's just basically short-term investment for long-term gain. So it's one of our success stories, our public health system, so we really need to invest so it's going to be strong in years to come.
We have about 12 seconds for debate before a rebuttal, if anyone wants to chime in.
I might just quickly say, because the last segment I didn't come in, but local resilient economies are climate resilient. We need to support our farmers and food production, so I'll get that in there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Throwback.
Giovanna, your
Yes.
rebuttal.
Well, I just wanted to build on your great point about the need to ensure public health care. So I'm going to fight very strongly to ensure that Ottawa's healthcare billions go to public care and not profits. The Ontario Conservative cuts have underfunded hospitals and pushed for privatization. That leads to alienation and a lot of families not getting the help that they need. And finally, I'm going to push for federal programs, demand provincial transparency, and work tirelessly to make healthcare accessible and affordable for every resident in Prescott-Russell-Cumberland.
Thaila, we know U.S. President Donald Trump has imposed tariffs on Canada, causing chaos on the markets, the threat of job loss for many Canadians, and an overall unrest in this country. What is your plan on how to manage this trade war with our neighbor to the south?
So just to kind of bring it back to just funny how we can see that in past years, Democrats and Republicans kind of open up the free markets across the world, and when the free market doesn't work for them, they kind of want to put the brakes on it. So it is an example of how not to do a transition, an economic global transition. What we advocate for is a just transition. No one gets left behind, minimize pain as much as possible. We understand local manufacturing. To pivot on that with, or not to pivot, but to keep on that topic, a tat-to-tat retaliatory tariffs, to win a trade war against the U.S. is a hard one. What we're going to have to look at is basically internalizing production as much as we can, diversify our trade partners, Europe, Asia, and
Debate.
Fear, chaos, and unrest are the three words you just said. I think that is what's being perpetrated onto Canadians, and I think that when you are working off of fear, chaos, and unrest, you are going to put that energy back out. We need to stop with the fear, chaos, and the unrest. We need to look at sustaining ourselves, building our own economies. I've got so much that I could say that would help reduce cost, that we could have our own infrastructure rebuilt, our own natural resources rebuilt. So I'm going to refer you to my website, jasonstlouis.ca, so you can read the entirety of my proposals. That said, I'm going to let you guys have a word on it.
Thank you. So I have 3 points to this. First, I would like to protect Prescott-Russell-Cumberland's workers against the tariffs. Number 2, I'm going to defend farmers. Number 3, counter threats. Not in that order of relevance, just in that order of speaking. So Trump's 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum, for example, hit Iveco rolling mills in L'Orignal, which is one of the biggest companies in our riding, very hard, with over 100 layoffs. As your Liberal candidate, I'm going to fight for our steelworkers, auto workers, and farmers in this trade war to make sure that they can keep their operations stable. Stable is what everyone is talking about right now in business. Help us maintain our operation. Help us keep going. Help us keep our workers so we don't have to go into EI, etc., although there are opportunities to build that out. Number two, farmers. I spent this past Sunday with over a dozen local farmers and their families on their farms. I'm deeply concerned about their well-being. My mom's side are dairy farmers, fifth-generation Canadian dairy farmers. To defend them, we're going to keep, and the Liberal Party's platform is to keep supply management off the table in trade talks, bolster Prescott-Russell-Cumberland's agri-food sector with $200 million for processing, and a permanent $6 million agri-stability cap, shielding our dairy, poultry, and egg producers from Trump's attacks.
I think that that's great, a fight against the attacks, but if we could take those same people who are building steel workers, put them in our own infrastructure and build our own places.
I think there's a common thread, which is good to see. So we talked about removing interprovincial trade barriers as well. So we have trading partners to our board. We have Quebec right across the river. I'll kind of put in clean electricity we could buy from them, but our riding is a breadbasket, so leveraging, yes, our farmers, getting more food hubs and processing internally, protecting with supply management our small family farms as well. Good ideas all around. I think we're on the same page. So check everyone's platform. But it's reassuring to hear we have to build our resilience.
Thank you so much. We have closing statements. Thaila, we'll start with you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again, Sam. So I really want to bring forth, actually, we talk about a lot of things about affordability, international relations. I actually want to talk, and Jason mentioned this, but I want to put electoral reform. A lot of you are tuned out. Eligible voters, last federal election was 62% came out during a pandemic. Provincially, it was 45%. Over half of you, pretty much half of you right now are not really feeling engaged and don't feel like your vote counts. Either you have to feel like you're doing a strategic vote, voting for what you don't want versus what you do want. Proportional representation is an electoral reform system that we, as the Greens, want to put forward, and I think a lot of parties have it in their platforms, but push politicians to strengthen our democracy, make it work for us. It's a process. It has to start now, but there's a way to do things better and have your voice heard. Proportional representation, look it up, Google it. It exists out in the world.
Giovanna.
Canada is facing unprecedented threats to our economy and sovereignty from our largest trading partner south of the border. This requires strong and experienced leadership. I care deeply about our riding and everyone's well-being and financial security. If you elect me as your Member of Parliament for Prescott-Russell-Cumberland, I'll work with Prime Minister Mark Carney, along with our steelworkers, farmers, business owners, teachers, seniors, youth, Indigenous communities, and vulnerable communities to fight Trump's tariffs and strengthen our riding. Unlike Pierre Poilievre, who's never met a payroll, Mark Carney has. As Governor of the Bank of Canada, he played a major role in helping Canada avoid the worst impacts of the 2008 financial crisis. He will do it again against Trump's unfair tariffs. Pierre Poilievre is in sync with Donald Trump. Mark Carney will fight Trump on behalf of all Canadians and defend our sovereignty. On April 28th, I ask for your vote. Thank you to my fellow candidates for this great debate today. Merci à tous.
Thank you. Jason.
I guess I want to touch on the buzzwords from things that go on. I want you to keep in mind, everybody, out of the 90,000 people that are registered to vote, the minority are divided between red, blue, green, orange, and everybody else. It's the other percent that needs to stand up. You got to get together. And if you want to make a change for yourself, look to vote for an independent, because keep in mind, when you're with a party, you're bound by the party. And as much as I really appreciate the great ideas that these other candidates have, when it comes down to sitting at the big table, it's whatever the party platform wants, whatever the whip is going to let everybody know has to be done. That's one thing. So is your voice really being heard at that level? Voting for an independent, I'm a voice just like you. I can assure you that my mandate is to be a voice for all of us so that you know with transparency and accountability what we are wanting to bring to the table. So please vote for me as an independent, jasonstlouis.ca. Thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you so much to all of our candidates. And of course, April 28th is the big day. You could definitely vote in those advance polls as well, which we suspect those big long lines on April 28th. We want to make sure your voice and your vote is heard. I'm Sam Laprade. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Rogers TV Ottawa Federal Election Debates.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.